What is going on, everybody, man? We're back for another one. How are we doing, man? It's your boy Mikey. These lights are really killing me, so let me put the shades on. Bright lights, you know. But what's going on, everybody? How are we doing today? It's your boy Mikey, man, and some people want to call me
That's the bad guy. Bad guy. That's the bad guy. The bad guy. The bad guy. Commission. The bad guy. The bad guy. The bad guy.
Load up that queen.
But I will be considered the bad guy, man. First off, I want to say a big condolences. You know, a friend of mine, Wayne, the voice Matthews, you know, down in the DMV, Maryland area. You know, you might have remember our Tuesday night shows that we were doing with Voice Sports. You know, but Wayne, rest in peace. You know, I actually had to link up a GoFundMe for his family, and it's crazy because a man that gave so much to youth sports. You know, and I was just kind of set back by how slow the GoFundMe was going. And here's a man that poured his life into pushing youth sports. And I figured as a community, we would have done a little bit more.
Throughout, but like
that's what's made him the GOAT.
Don't do that. What?
Well,
that's what's made him the GOAT.
Hey, we out of here.
Thank you, guys.
Never done. It's Mr. Swing.
Well, rest in peace, my man Wayne, the voice Matthews, man. Definitely gonna miss him, man. Born the same year I was born, 1974, man. You know, 50 years young. And someone said to me, well, I actually read this, that, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it sucks getting old. But I think, you know what? It's great getting old. What would suck if not getting old? You know, so rest in peace, everybody. But before we bring my man on, you know, quick little clip.
Pass you on to the 6th grade, and in 1 year you're gonna be in another school.
What in the heck are you doing? Get out of here, Bobby. If those kids could read, they'd be very upset.
My man, what's up, Bob? How you doing?
That was a pretty good intro, Mikey. I'm doing great. How are you?
There you go. You know, hey, you know, only for my 2 stars, you know, the Bowdy and Gasu fountain, or Gasu Bowdy fountain.
Yeah.
You know, going on over there. I'm glad they was able to bring this beautiful town a fountain.
Well, and not only that, you know, for the winter months, we now have an ice rink on Vaux Street, so the ice skating crowd can enjoy it too. But in all seriousness, before we get started, condolences to you and to your friend's family on his passing, Mr. Matthews. That was sad to hear about that. 50 years old, way too young. And I'm with you, man. It's a blessing to get old, not a curse. Every day is a gift. So I'm 61 and I count my blessings every day. So condolences to Mr. Matthews, his family, and his friends, including you, buddy.
Absolutely. You know, it is a blessing. And I used to be like, you know, I'm getting old. You know, I hate to say it, you know, I'm going on 50. And I think I'm proud to say, because where I come from, a lot of people that I grew up with are not around it anymore. They didn't get a chance to live till 40. Right. They didn't get a chance to live till 50, you know. So I'm just I'm blessed. You know what I mean? I'm still
Absolutely.
here, and kids, got some beautiful grandchildren, you know, and great friends like you. And
You know it.
you know, so how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
I'm doing great. You know, we're extremely busy, as you know, trying to keep up with all of the all of the shenanigans going on in this town. And as you know, we've been doing this for over 3 years now, and we just do it because we love the town and we care about these kids. And every rock we turn over seems like there's something under it, unfortunately, that we expose, and that's what we're doing. That's what we've been up to.
Absolutely. You know, but before we get started, I'm gonna just play a little clip that I actually made from the school committee a couple days ago. The last school committee there was with the superintendent. You know, basically he was bragging about a lot of the you know, what's going on at the middle school. He was happy about, you know, all the you know, that the kids were getting along, and I just thought that was pretty ironic. But we're gonna watch this video. Give me
Right.
1 second.
And
You're lying.
All right,
got
hold
you.
has
on.
resulted in a
What's going on here?
significant reduction in the number of discipline referrals being processed
Gotta
by
get
the
my
principal
sound
when
going.
compared to the same first weeks of school as last year.
My studies of psychology in grad
Well,
school, I know
Well,
that means
that don't seem to be working. We'll have to play that again later. But what
I'm
it basically,
familiar with that part of the meeting, though.
yeah. So let's dive into it, because you and John Gagne was speaking, and John Gagne first brings up some interesting some facts. You know, some basically back in 2014, our athletic director, you know, Jamie Vittorino, pulled some permits on Sal Auguri Field way ahead of the vote, but he was probably being prepared. So why don't you take it from there and explain to everybody?
Well, I mean, like I told you, I'm not a permit expert. Okay, um, John was first of all, he's a brilliant guy, great guy too. Like us, John is concerned about the taxpayers being ripped off and being fleeced here in Westerly. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things, and this town, specifically Westerly Public Schools, seems to always take that fork in the road that is the wrong way, the non-transparent way to do things. So John was just up there talking about, you know, trying to make sure that the taxpayers aren't being screwed over. As far as the permit goes, like I say, I'm not an expert on permits, but supposedly the permit had expired, and then you hear that it's still active. My concern is, okay, number one, is it still active? Number two, was the work that the permit specified done? I don't believe it was, but we're going to find out because John has requests into DEM, and they're going to try to get to the bottom of this whole thing. But, you know, not being a permit expert, I know Jamie's name was on it. I don't know what that means. But, you know, once again, they say, well, the field is draining exactly the way it's supposed to drain. I don't know about that, but I do know that the wall is about ready to give way because there's holes in it and water's pouring out there this past weekend. So clearly we have issues, and the solution that they have that I heard that they have in place is not going to be good enough to accommodate the amount of water that is coming off as runoff. So, not to mention the fact that the poison materials coming off the field will go right down into the storm drain into the Pawcatuck River, which, you know, no one seems to really care about except us, school committee, some of them, the superintendent, Bowdy, others. don't seem to really care about that because in Ober, they just wanted this thing done. They rushed it. Now they're paying the price, and they'll pay a huge price for that.
I mean, I'm not a permit expert either, but I have been in the construction field, and I do know that, like, you know, like, say if I hire a contractor and I pull a permit, and that, well, actually the contractor has to pull a permit unless I am the property owner. But if the contractor pulls a permit and he can no longer do the job, another contractor has to pull another permit. So I don't really see how the permit can last so long, and I don't see how, like, another company can come in and do the work. Now, I also heard the superintendent saying Field Turf said they didn't have to pull a permit because it was considered maintenance.
Well, I'm going to just say this. They're full of it. Garso's full of it. Field Turf is full of it. And I heard Lori the other night, Lori Wycall, say, and I think Christine too, that if any work needs to get done, additional work needs to get done in this field, you better damn not call Field Turf to have them do it. Okay? So whatever it is, if it's going to be done properly, everything's going to have to be ripped up, right? This is what I was told. But there are ways to get around ripping up the whole field, and that's the avenue they're going to pursue. But one thing I know for sure is that the taxpayers of Westerly are going to end up paying for this thing. Again, they've already stolen $1 million from us. $500,000 on the school committee side, $500,000 on the town council side. After the voters of Westerly had said via bond in 2014 or bond voting that they didn't want to pay for this. Well, they Ed Marone and Bowdy and Garso, they found a way to get it done and use our money in the process. So this fixing what they hastily the terrible engineering that they did on this, we're going to end up paying for that too.
And it was done very, very sneaky, if you ask me, because they waited until May to basically put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
And they figured, May, we got to get this thing done in a month. So they figured they'll get right by on it, you know, but I don't think they expected, you know, a lot, you know, they didn't expect to run into you, you know, on the Field Turf project, you know, and other concerned citizens. Yeah.
Well, somebody also told Jamie, and Jamie, I don't think Jamie did anything wrong here. I don't know. I'm not out to get Jamie. Jamie's a
great guy, great athletic director.
Yeah. Wrong place, wrong time, I think, for him, but on this. But what was I going to say? Somebody told him that the quad was going to get done in May before graduation, right? They hadn't even have a contract yet, right? In May. They didn't have a contract till the summer. So I don't know who told him that, but Garso, when it was brought up at a school committee meeting, threw Jamie under the bus in a big way. So clearly Garso loves to insulate himself because he threw the town manager under the bus at the school committee meeting the other night as well. So Garso is like John Gotti, right? The Teflon Don. He thinks he is anyway. But he and Bowdy and Ober and Ed Marone and others trying to just shove this project down people's throats, forgot to cross T's and dot I's. And, you know, when you lie all the time, it's really hard to cover up lies, right? Because you're going to trip over yourself. And that's what these guys are doing right now. Unfortunately, we'll pay the price for it. Hopefully they will too.
Now we'll go back. Well, this is going back to basically when they started talking about rumors of the materials.
I'll pick up from there. So part of the reason why we're having this discussion, this doesn't reflect on Mr. Dijak or your company, but things here have kind of gotten, just for lack of a better term, out of control. I think it may have started with an email that was sent by the athletic director stating that there was a start date for the fields. And it's kind of snowballed from there. So we all know that this body is the only body that can authorize any work to be done at those fields. And this body has not done that to this point, correct, Mr. Dijak? We don't have anything.
No contract, no agreement, no nothing.
Perfect. Thank you. So, how the conversation started into start dates and, completion dates. And there was a rumor about materials being dropped off and all that things. It's really just snowballed out of control. So we as a committee need to really take this back. We need to make sure that we know exactly what's going on, what we've approved, what we haven't approved, what we can expect in the future. For my point, I know I would imagine probably all members feel this way, that when we're approached by a member of the public saying, hey, what's going to happen with graduation? They're starting the fields. And obviously we haven't approved anything, so we don't know what they're talking about. So it makes us feel foolish, for lack of a better word. And I also think that, from what I understand, what we have approved is we've approved somebody for the fundraising, and we've also approved to commit $500,000 to the final project. And I believe that was based contingent on the fundraising being successful as well, but that I'm not sure of. So that's kind of where we're at. So I know a lot of members of the committee here, we want to have a discussion as a group, and I think we need to do that. We need to figure out where we're at, where we're going from here. So,
Mr. Chair, I just want to remind that the committee also did approve the up to $50,000 for engineering work that Mr. Dyche
for the
described.
yeah, that's right. Thank you for the engineering. Yes. So our first item here is that we have a proposed contract. So
now basically after that, Ms. Cook asked Wycheck about the materials, and he said, be very clear, very honest. No, not a dollar has been spent materials for this project.
Right.
Now there had to be almost $100,000 worth of materials sitting that nobody bought.
Rob Salino had it 100% right in that clip. Everything he said was true. No contract, yet things were going on behind the scenes. Materials, as you know, were delivered. They were ours, just as we had alleged from the beginning. Garso, Bowdy, and whatever that guy's name is, Dychak from Field Turf, they didn't lie, but they didn't tell the truth either. They were very, very cautious and careful the way they worded it. The $50,000 for engineering, which did or didn't take place, doesn't look like it to me. And there was a couple of other things in there. Oh yeah, a couple of other things were they approved the working group, which is the fundraising team, who has also done nothing wrong. They were taking their direction from the school committee, from Bowdy in particular. And Garso and Bowdy and others have said, and Rob said it there again, the school committee have full care and control of this project. Now that leads me to something else. This working group is a subcommittee of the school committee, okay? They take its direction from the school committee, from Bowdy in particular, to go raise funds. I sent a public records request in a few weeks ago asking for meeting minutes and agendas from working group meetings, and was told that there were no responsive documents, meaning that they had no minutes and no agendas. That is a violation of the Open Meetings Act, because a subcommittee is an arm under the care and control of the school committee, therefore subject to OMA. So I'll be filing an Open Meetings Act violation with the Attorney General on that. I also asked the other night at the meeting that Bowdy be taken off the project completely. And there are a couple of other things too. I mean, there are so many layers of lies on top of this whole thing. And of course, people like Christine and Lori Whitecall and Seth and myself and others who dare question anything to do with this project are called saboteurs and haters and obstructionists. The chair, the former chair, called us haters in a memo that I saw from another open meeting, another APRA request, public records request, called our group haters. We're not haters. All we wanted to do was want them to tell us the truth. That's not too much to ask, I don't think. But anybody that dares ask a question and get in her way, she has no fact-based answers. All it is, and Garso too, all it is name calling and threats and intimidation. Or they try to. They can't intimidate me, of course, but that's what they do. They know that we know what they've done, that they're liars, that they are agenda-driven people. They care about themselves. They don't care about the kids. They care about leaving a legacy so they can put a nice plaque up. They can put it at the Garso Barty Memorial Fountain if they want. That's fine. But they don't have the best interest of these kids at heart. And as we go along here in our conversation, we get off the field project and talk about other stuff, that'll be able to be illustrated a lot better. But, this whole project's been a joke. Now, the other night at the meeting, I don't know if you've got this clip or not, but I called for the school committee to stop fundraising, tell the working group to cease and desist with the fundraising for the quad. And as Lori had suggested, and they voted on a while back, everything that is raised, every penny that is raised between now and 30 June of 2024, as the bill comes due on the July 1st, I think, all those funds will go toward paying off Auguri Field, which will lessen the amount of that $1 million that the Westerly taxpayers are on the hook for this thing. So the four members of the school committee, Rob and Joe and Lori and Christine, got it exactly right the other night. They showed great respect for Westerly's taxpayers. They have full care and control of this project, and they voted in that manner. So I salute the four of those guys and ladies for doing the right thing, for sure.
Absolutely, and I totally agree. Like, the working group is actually, they said, oh no, the name of it's not the working group, it's the Westerly Athletic Complex. Like,
right.
That made no sense. They're saying that's the name of their fundraising group. You can hear the pitch in the superintendent's voice every time he lies.
Yeah.
And that's why I put that clip. Did your voice went up a whole octave, or you start stuttering or fumbling. But yeah, and speaking of the fundraising, you paid out 47 grand. It looks like you brought in right around 100 grand. So you paid out half of that for this guy. And I like to know who was responsible. Who was Dan Barry reporting to?
Well, he was contracted to give fundraising expertise, probably to the former chair. I'm quite sure of it because she's the one that contacted me, and Dan contacted me on her behalf. So she was the leader of this whole thing. She has been messing this project up, screwing it up since day one. That's why it was never able to get done right. She was non-transparent. She lied. She's a bully, and she put her own needs. I'll give you an example. The other night at the meeting, I was talking about the former chair and another former school committee member, Gina Fuller, who's a friend of mine. And Gina is an expert on grants. And she, I can't remember, she works for the state in some capacity as far as grant giving goes. And I'm going to sound like an idiot because I don't know. But she offered her expertise to the chair, former chair. And basically, the former chair can't stand Gina. So she basically told Gina to go pound sand and not so many words. So we could have gotten grant funding, partial grant funding for this project, but not for the narcissistic and egotistical behavior of the former chair to Ms. Fuller, putting Westerly's taxpayers in a bad spot again. Of course, Bowdy also says that Westerly taxpayers pay too little in taxes. So I guess that probably didn't bother her that much that we didn't get grant funding, that she told Gina to take a hike and she didn't need her help because we pay too little in taxes anyway. So,
and it looks like also that the permits that were pulled back in 2020 they didn't even let Field Turf know about them. putting them in a, like, there's going to be this is going to create problems because, not pulling permits is something, like, this is big, especially with the DEM involved. They don't care
Right.
you're a school.
Right.
They find the state.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, I think this is going to continue on for quite a while, but at least we got one thing done. We are 100% certain, thanks to Rob and Joe and Christine and Lori, that the school committee is in full care and control of this project. There will be no more fundraising for the quad. Everything raised by the working group and other means will go towards Jerry Field, as I said, to defray the cost that Westerly taxpayers have to pay for this. So that's where we're at right now. Now we've got to tackle all of this misinformation and lies and cover-ups for this engineering and the holes in the wall and it's just a mess. So you'll hear more and more about that moving forward, but I don't think you'll hear anything else about the quad, Mike.
Now we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about what has been going on in the school department the last couple of days. Actually, probably been going on all year. And this happened a couple of years ago where we had a lot of violence at the high school, and I actually I heard from an unnamed source that the superintendent okayed the Westerly PD to basically stop making arrests at the high school for anyone causing a disturbance. A few arrests were made last week because of fights going on in the high school, fights going on in the middle school, but yet the superintendent is telling people how everything's up 9%. This is up 2%, talk about that.
This district and all districts in Rhode Island and throughout the country are just enamored of social emotional learning. Okay. SEL, and in a nutshell, really, it tries to drive a wedge between parent and child, making the school the primary influence of the kids. It is just something that it talks about feelings. It's all about feelings and mining for data and using this data against kids for God knows how long. Okay. But this really, to me, the key thing here is it really brainwashes a vulnerable population, turns them against their parents, teaches them that everything that their parents taught them was wrong, that the school is really the only place where they should feel safe, ironically, and that they have trusted adults. They like to use that term at school. So that's why they like to cut the parents out of things with surveys and stuff like that, which, they really can't, but they try to. So anyway, he was talking about all those happy feeling things while around him, Rome was burning, right? I mean, 3 fights at the high school in the last 2 weeks, I think. 2 fights, 2 at the middle school, 1 on the bus and 1 in the park involving a middle school student last week. And this is what happens, Mike, when you teach kids in school, when the curriculum says that America's a bad place, question authority, don't respect authority. When they teach you that white people are bad, black people are oppressed, white people are evil oppressors. They teach you all those things. They teach the kids to hate themselves, each other, and the country. It creates a volatile environment. And this restorative justice, these practices that they have, enable certain groups, and they feel emboldened, and they feel like they can do whatever they want to do because they can. And it creates anarchy in the schools, and it's very, very bad. So this is the school is definitely playing its role. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I have to tell you, the U.S. government, U.S. Department of Education, Angelica Infante Green at Ride, Garso, Story, some radical teachers within this district, and this goes throughout the country too. They're doing their job, which is to indoctrinate and poison and destroy a generation or two of these kids. What better way to contribute to taking down of a country than doing what these people are doing? This is not happenstance. This is on purpose. They know it, and they know we know it. I can't believe that there aren't parents banging down the doors of Highland Avenue right now, demanding that this stuff come to an end, because it is destroying these kids every single day. You look at the English language arts literacy reading program at Westerly High School, and it's Odell Education. It's owned by Bill and Melinda Gates, the Gates Foundation. Paints white people as evil oppressors and black people as victims and heroes all the time. So many other things that are going on in these schools, which take the content-based learning and put it on the back burner. But these kids are learning plenty about DEI and sex and transgenderism and racism and hating the U.S. and all this stuff, but not learning how to read and write. Now, I'll give you another example. RICAS scores came out last week, right? And Westerly, again, is firmly ensconced in mediocrity, as I hate to say, but it's true. Westerly scores in math went up slightly, but only went up to 32.9%, which means that 68 or whatever percent of kids, 67% of Westerly kids are not proficient.
Well, Bob, I have that clip and I want to show that, but I have this clip loaded and I want to, we'll get to that in 1 second.
Okay,
Let's hear what the superintendent had to say about the great job that all these schools are doing.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1 second here. For some reason, there's no sound. You have sound? You can't hear that, right?
I cannot.
All right. All right, but anyway, he titled that "Everything is Fine," basically. And then we see that there's fights going on in the school.
Right.
At the high school, there's fights. At the middle school, there was fights. The video got all over social media. Talk about that a little bit. How's the violence in these schools?
Yeah, and I have to say, I can't sit here and blame 100% of this on the schools, but I will say this: it's a combination of lousy parenting by some people, in my opinion, and the schools taking advantage of the situation that is that they recognize. They recognize a vulnerable population, like I said before, and they take advantage of the trust that they get these kids to develop in them. Garso and Story are masters at it. Story is a BLM supporter, as you know, and we know what BLM's about. They're about tearing down of the American family. They're not about helping black people. They're about murdering Jews, and they hate the country. They're Marxists. They're communists, self-avowed. Alicia Story is in lockstep with them. Okay, so a lot of the programs and part of the curriculum that they have is geared to that. Okay, like Westerly High School has a class, we've talked about this before, taught by Ann Barnhart, who, thank God, is on sabbatical now. I think called Sophomores for Social Action. Teaches these kids how to demonstrate and how to make signs and how to hate this country. And this is what's going on right now in our schools. And as I said, it lends students, kids to say, well, what the hell do I need to pay attention to authority for? I'm not going to get in trouble. The restorative justice practices are not going to allow me to get suspended. So I won't have any consequences to my actions. So I am going to sucker punch this kid. I am going to beat this girl up or this boy up. Nothing's going to happen to me. Even though in the policies, it talks about what's supposed to happen to kids during fights. There's a disciplinary policy, as Lori Whitecall pointed out, that is not being followed. Instead, restorative justice policies coming down from RIDE and the U.S. Department of Education are being implemented, and it allows basically the inmates to run the asylum. There's no accountability. We need to make kids accountable. Now, listen, I don't want any kids to come from a bad background. I'm sensitive to that, but you know what? When you walk through those doors in the morning, there's got to be somebody there that's saying, "Okay, look it. Somehow you've got to leave what's going on at home behind. You cannot be disruptive here because you're going to ruin the educational experience for everybody," and that's what's going on. So they can act out in class. They can basically do whatever they want, and there's mediation or whatever that takes place. But they do not want to suspend these kids because they get rewarded for not suspending them. Their ratings are higher. Lori pointed this out the other night too. Their ratings, schools get higher ratings for not suspending kids than they do for succeeding in reading and math. Can you believe that? Not suspending kids is a bigger reward than academic success. That's BS. That's got to stop. So
unbelievable.
The violence that we're seeing is sickening. And I venture to tell you that if Jim Spellman were still at Westerly High School, or some of the people that were around when in the Stone Age when I was in school, if Tom DiPaolo or Bob Mitchell were superintendent instead of this gutless turd, then none of this stuff would be going on.
Well, here's one of the incidents, and I want to, this is graphic for some people, but I think it has to be seen.
Notice coming up from behind, right? Coming up, she'll look back. Time to go. Sucker punch, pulling her hair, slamming her. How long does it take before anybody comes to that girl's defense? They watch and they video. And then finally, I don't know if that's a teacher or not, comes over.
Yeah, I think it was a teacher. And the thing is that situation could have been prevented, and I'm sure that something was boiling up to this. I'm sure there was probably even complaints put in by maybe that student's parents or that student that said, I have a situation with this child, and that they have fifth graders in that school. Like, fifth graders do not belong in junior high school.
Right.
They're shell shocked. Most of these fifth graders are like, oh my God, to see what's going on. I'm behind a bus. I'm being mooned the other day, and not only that, the bus is out of control. I don't even let my daughter ride the bus home.
Good.
From the middle school.
Good.
I go every day and pick her up myself. And because as a fifth grade parent, my daughter's in the fifth grade. I'm not comfortable with her in middle school. And this is why the numbers are dropping. This is why more people are homeschooling.
Mike, this is these situations. This is the situation that Mark Garso and Alicia Story and Diane Bowdy and others have helped create, okay, with their, as I mentioned, SEL, restorative justice, lack of adherence to disciplinary policies that are on the books, the curriculum that they have, which is race-based, a lot of it, and the radicalization of these kids, either sexualization of the books in the libraries. These are all things that have added up, and it's these people's fault that has created an atmosphere of danger and violence. Our teachers aren't safe. Our students aren't safe. If I was a parent of a Westerly Middle School or Westerly High School student right now, I would say, listen, my kid's not going to school until you get your stuff together. I will homeschool my kid if I can, if I could do it, if I were a parent. That's unfortunately not feasible for a lot of the population. We have to make the public schools work, but they have to work for us. They need to make the changes necessary to make it so that it's a safe learning environment for these kids. If you don't have safety in a school, you have nothing. Kids cannot learn in an unsafe environment. The point is, safety, and I should say learning, is not the primary objective of these people. If it were, they would be performing better, the kids. Instead, as I said before, DEI, sex, transgenderism, racism, hating the country, hating each other, hating authority, those are the most important things that these kids are learning, not content-based education. That's the problem. No discipline. The inmates are running the asylum, Mike.
Unfortunately, you are correct, and it seems like everybody is afraid of somebody. You know, the superintendent allegedly is worried about the school committee. The school committee is worried about, you know, someone else on top of them. The teachers are worried about the kids. The kids ain't afraid of nobody. You know, and it's kind of what was created over the last couple decades. You know, this was in the works.
I've been calling for the school committee to fire Mark Garso now for months. You cannot tell me that this guy keeps earning his contracts and his new his raises. This district has been in free fall now for quite some time. And, you know, they pat each other on the back at these meetings like they're at a Hollywood Awards show or just hit a grand slam in the World Series, like I said the other night. They're ripping off taxpayers and they're ripping off these kids. It isn't right. It's so wrong. It's sickening. Yet they continue to get up there and make excuse after excuse and tell us the kids are feeling better about each other, about themselves and each other. Yet you have kids beating the crap out of each other in the hallways and on school buses and in Wilcox Park. So something's got to give here. And I will tell you that if this school committee does not fire this man, they are just as culpable as he is if they allow it to go on. It's got to happen. And Alicia Story has to go too, because she is in charge of curriculum. Everything that goes on in this curriculum goes on with her say-so and her knowledge. Okay. She's taking up space. She's getting nothing done except ruining these kids. She's poisoning them with this curriculum that's coming down, admittedly, from RIDE, but she is exacerbating the problem. They both need to go. Can you imagine? We could have had Bob Mitchell, a homegrown guy, as superintendent here, not once, but twice. Bob just retired as superintendent of Cumberland schools. And look at the RICAS scores and see where Cumberland is compared to Westerly, right?
We're going to bring them up. We're going to bring them up, right?
This is no joke. Garso he's poison. And that's tough for me to see. But I know Cumberland's right near there. Cumberland's like 7th, I think, 6th or 7th,
if I could,
with a way better score than us. We're only, I think, 4 spots above the mean score in math, and 1 above the mean score in ELA. So we're firmly in the middle where we always are. Yet, of course, we pay $26,000 per child to educate, while Barrington, the top district in the state, pays $15,000. How the hell does that happen?
Cumberland's 7th.
That's okay. That's what I thought. So
Cumberland is 7th with 54.8. And in math, 55.5.
Right. Yep. And we're at 41.3 in English, and I think 32.9 in math. So I mean, you look at 41.3%, that means 60% of our kids almost can't read, right? 41% can, 59% cannot. They're not proficient. and 32.9 are proficient in math, meaning 2/3 are not. So, and I told him the other night, don't celebrate this. This sucks. You cannot be happy with numbers that look like this. You cannot
23rd in a state, 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd out of 50. Out of the 50 that aggregate scores. This is my chart, by the way. I made this up. Ride published the numbers, and I just created this spreadsheet the other day. This district celebrates being average, being mediocre. They pat each other on the back. This is unacceptable to me. I look at these numbers, and they're embarrassing, especially since we're paying almost twice as much to educate our kids as Barrington is. What are they doing that we're not? What's Cumberland doing? What's Little Compton doing? Right? What's Charahoe doing that we're not?
And our Westerly teachers, the highest, Westerly, I think, are the highest paid teachers in the state, right? Or close to it.
I think close to it. I don't know that specifically, Mike, but I know they're certainly in the top 5. No question about it. So, they need to stop self-congratulating themselves, the leaders of this district, and I use air quotes when I say leaders. And I've said this before. If you show me an organization that is failing, right? We're athletes, right? I know if my coach, if my team, I should say, has losing seasons 4 or 5 years in a row, yes, the players have something to do with it, but that's going to show me that the leadership of that organization sucks. That's what we have going on here. You are what your numbers say you are, as Bill Belichick says. You can't run away from what your numbers are. These numbers are very bad, okay? You're less than a 500 team. Anybody that did that for 2 or 3 years as a coach, never mind 7 years like this guy, would be out on their ass by now. He needs to go. We need to press the reset button in this district with new leadership in order that these kids and the taxpayers get their full dollar value of an education here at Westerly, like we always used to.
And there has been no accountability from him on anything. He's very good at deflecting. So like you said, I don't understand why he's still around, because they got rid of people for less. Remember the police chief couple? He wasn't here a week. They wanted him out of town.
Right.
Silver, I think his name was. But
right. That's right.
They got rid of people for much less. So but he's making someone happy, I guess. I don't know who, but
it beats the hell out of me. I don't know. Well, I mean, he's doing everything Angelica Infante Green wants, so maybe I guess he's making her happy.
Keep up the fight, Bob. And one thing, I don't think Ride is gonna. I hate to bring any bad luck, but I don't think they're gonna go near this field for reimbursement with all the BS that's gonna happen. I think they're in a little bit of trouble with the DEM.
Well, yeah, and some members of the school committee, like Ober and Bowdy, and even the superintendent, were acting like the Ride reimbursement was a done deal for this whole time. Nobody knows whether we're going to get Ride reimbursement or not. And I'm with you. Why in the heck would they do it? Why would they do it? There's too much stuff that has been exposed about the lack of efficacy of this project. I wouldn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, quite frankly. So you know what that means? That means more money coming out of the Westerly taxpayers, okay, for this thing. That means that $1 million is not going to get defrayed.
Oh, this is going to be an easy another 25,000, and who is going to pay it? Field turf? No. They're going to say it was broken when we dug, like they are saying, it was broken when we dug the field up, And I said it was broken in 2018 when both end zones, I said, there's a cracked pipe right under here. And I think Miss Fuller said they piecemealed this together, the drainage thing. But I said, there's a broken pipe right under here because how the water is coming up and it's not draining right. But
right.
Yeah, no, it's going to cost some money, and hopefully, I mean, Situate 2018, they still have not used their field. They have a
Right.
big gap in hole from
Yep.
water. I mean, a big hole. I think I might have sent you a picture. I actually have it on my. Oh, I have it right here. Actually,
I was talking to a guy at one of the breakfasts I was speaking at recently, a couple months ago, and he told me about that field. And he said, "Yeah, he showed me that picture. I think
look at the size of that hole. That was
right?
under the turf from the water.
Yep.
And nobody wants to take responsibility. So guess what? The field is not being used.
And Mike, you know, the thing that really gets me is, you know, like I said before, those of us that have the audacity to ask questions, to try to hold people accountable, all we want is what we paid for, right? And all we want is our elected officials to be honest and upfront and open with us. I was a proponent of this field. Nobody cares more about the athletes here in Westerly than I do. I'm a member of the Hall of Fame. I'm on the Hall of Fame committee. I care very deeply about this community, about the student athletes here at Westerly. But you know what? You have to do things the right way. The ends don't justify the means. I don't care what you're talking about. If you're lying and you're covering up because you want something to happen and the taxpayers have told you we don't want to do this, you've got to listen to the taxpayers and find another way. You can't tell them that you think the preponderance of the project is going to be funded by donations when they haven't raised hardly any money. They've raised hardly any money yet, and then they steal money from the taxpayers, $1 million to do it. That's not transparency. It's wrong. So they can call us whatever names they want, but all we want is honesty and transparency. And you know, people like Garceau and Bowdy and others have not been that. They have been exactly the opposite. They've been running clandestine operations to try and keep things from us. They deflect. They call us names. As I said, they can do whatever they want. All we want is the truth, and they haven't yet given it to us.
Well, I seen that she put something last week that said that there's a bunch of hateful people, and I was like, you know, and some rude comment, and I was like, that's the pot calling the kettle black, because I heard her sit up there and say some awful things about some constituents that are sitting in the audience. You know, we won't mention any names, Bob.
Right.
But and I was like, that's horrible, because at the end of the day, that man in the audience is a voter. He's a taxpayer.
That's right, Mike.
You know, you are serving him.
There's no respect by her for taxpayers. And by the way, we have a recall effort undertaking right now for her. I have a petition. There are others that have petitions around town. You can IM me if our viewers want to IM me and find out how they can sign the petition to get her recalled, Bowdy, that is. We need to do that. Interest of these kids at heart. She needs to go. And you know, that's all I have to really say about her, but we need to get her recalled. We need to get some accountability from everybody out of our elected officials. And it's gone down this road, and it's a shame, but that person made her own bed, and now we caught her. I'll say one more thing. I submitted a public records request a couple weeks ago, asking for any emails between Bowdy and anybody at the town hall looking for grant money for the quad. Now, if you remember, the school committee voted a month or two ago that every penny raised by the working group between now and the 30th of June of next year would go toward Auguri Field. That they weren't going to be raising any money or soliciting any grants that included the quad. Well, she directly defied the vote by the school committee and went ahead and did it anyway. I've got the emails between she and Dale Faulkner and others at the town hall, and she was skulking around town hall going in and out of people's offices trying to get grants, even when the school committee told her that wasn't the path they were going to follow. So she clearly doesn't care about the rules. It's her way. She's going to do it no matter what. So she needs to be censored for this, in my opinion, and taken off the project. So that's where we are with that. But we've got way more issues than just the field going on here in Westerly.
Absolutely.
The kids aren't getting educated as per the RICAS scores. There's violence in the schools. The leadership stinks. And Seth uncovered this when he was poking around the budget last week. And Ramona Bessinger, my friend, who's a Providence teacher, brought this to light over 2 years ago, that the classics, the classic books, novels, just were being tossed away in Providence schools. And sure enough, we find the same thing here in Westerly. Back in July of 2021, it showed that it stated in an entry, budget entry, that classic books were tossed away. Some of them were worn out, and they replaced those books with books that were compatible with literature circles and student requests. So I filled yet another public records request out, and I want to find out what books were tossed away and what books were brought in to replace the classics. So we have an erasing of our history here, right? We don't want people reading Emily Dickinson anymore, or Anne Frank, or any of that stuff. We want books that show, America as a racist place, as a bad place, where white people are evil oppressors and black people are victims. That's what they want these kids to read about. And I will bet you dollars to donuts, I will bet you a year's salary, that many of those books that replace the classics are themed like that. So when we get that public records request information back, we'll make sure to let you know what we find. That's troublesome.
And I'm glad that Rob and Joe is now, joining, with Christine and Lori Whitehall, and, standing up for themselves, really. I'm going to say it like it is, and taking the school committee back, because from what I've been seeing, the committee looks very powerless. And I seen a school committee member post on a post that we don't have no power. And they were absolutely right, because you seen the field. That field was going to happen, whether they were going to make them vote yes. They just kept coming back. But I'm glad they're actually standing up, and I hope they take control of everything back. Get rid of the working group. We don't need it. Never did. You raise $100,000, you had to pay out $47,000 for some. And I looked on his website, and you couldn't even find fundraising for Westerly High School anywhere.
Right. Well, it hasn't. It's not high enough to make the list, I guess. But you know what? You talk about the school committee not having power now, and first of all, I want to echo your thoughts about Rob and Joe and Christine and Lori. Not only have they stood up for themselves in an admirable manner, but they have stood up for the taxpayers and the kids of Westerly. They have done that. And I know that they will continue to do that. And we are very, very lucky to have those on the school committee, because they really, really care. Now, that's not to say that we'll agree with every single thing that they vote on or do, but that's okay. But on matters such as, what's best for the kids and best for the taxpayers, we're in lockstep there in terms of, being fair and utilizing the taxpayers' monies in the most efficient ways possible, being transparent. We're 100% aligned on that. But, I can't remember where I was going, but we do
the school committee and Joe and Rob,
right on. The curriculum. Back in 2019, I'll be quick, and I think we've talked about this before, the state legislature voted to give curriculum approval authority, to take it away from local school committees and to consolidate it into the hands of one centralized, unelected body, which is the Department of Education. Angelica Infante Green became the Commissioner of Education. Her curriculum is what goes. You know, they will tell you, well, there's choice. Well, they were given a choice between 3 ELA curricula. Basically, they were all the same. They ended up choosing the Gates Foundation Odell Education Literacy Program. So people talk about school choice a lot, and I'm a school choice guy too. But until you have a decentralized decision-making authority curriculum-wise, until the curriculum approval power is taken away from Angelica Infante Green and RIDE and given back to the people, which means our elected school committees and school boards throughout the state of Rhode Island, school choice is a moot point. We want school choice, but we need to be able to have the individual districts have autonomy over what they teach in order for true school choice to happen in Rhode Island. So we're going to be working on a bunch of things with our legislators in the next legislative session at the State House. Anti-obscenity bills, curriculum bills, many different things that will help our kids and return the education in Rhode Island of these kids. We'll put it back on the straight and narrow, because it's off the rails right now. So those are the things that we're going to be working on moving forward, as well as continuing to fight for our taxpayers and these kids here in Westerly who are near and dear to all of us.
Absolutely. You can check Bob out on Rumble. You're on Rumble. He's on Facebook. If you need to reach out to him, I'm sure you can DM him. I couldn't bring him on here, you know, former Hall of Fame guy. He's on the Hall of Fame committee. How about them Bulldogs this season? Freshman quarterback, Landon Husserl, you know, playing very, very good football. I heard people say that in 51 years, they have yet to see a freshman look as good as he does out there on the field.
Yeah, they're. I think they're 6-1 right now, right? So
they're doing very well.
That's a good thing.
Tough game. Yep, they're going to play SK this week, and that game goes for the second or third seed. And I was talking to someone from SK, and they said, "Oh, we just got to go to Westerly and handle business." And I said, "Actually, you know, that 2 seed is no picnic, because I think you got to end up playing Mount Pleasant. If we fall in 3rd seed, we might get Burrville. So I kind of like that 3rd seed spot, but." Shout out to Coach Ronnie Spizzato. I think he done a great job this season. You know, I got to be honest. I thought the team was a little small this year, and I thought they did better than I thought they were going to do. And I'm just keeping it real. But shout out to them guys, Jordan Husserl. You know, congratulations to the captain, to all the seniors that are graduating this year. Matthew Garofolo, you know, bunch of them guys. Go Bulldogs, man. Everyone come out to the SK game. I think that's going to be in SK. Get down there and check out the game, man. But go Bulldogs.
You know, the last thing for me would be, you know, we have fought really, really hard the last 3 years. Everything that we have done has been for these kids. And for anybody on the school committee or not to say that we don't care about the kids, it's quite the contrary. Everything that I do and that we do are for the youth of Westerly. I wouldn't be on the committee, the Hall of Fame committee, if I didn't care. I wouldn't be taken up every other Wednesday night at that podium, getting insulted by Garso and by Bowdy if I didn't care about these kids. The kids are why we're doing all of this. And our love for them and our love for this town is why we're doing it. So I would suggest that anybody who says that about us look in the mirror and see why they're doing what they're doing. And if they can sleep at night, I'd be very surprised. My head hits the pillow every night when it comes to what we're trying to do, and I feel fine about it. So
and shout out to you for doing this, you know, and big shout out to the missus, because it takes a strong wife to be able to you know, have a husband that's doing what you are doing, because I'm sure she takes a brunt of the punishment too. Probably when she goes to the supermarket, or so shout out to her, because and plus she has to deal with you.
That's true.
So bless
Not
her.
not easy. Not
but
easy.
Shout out to the wives.
Yeah. We have such great people in this town, Mike. We really do. We have so many good parents and great kids. We have a great tradition here in Westerly, a family tradition, and we want to keep that alive. We just have to be willing to look in the mirror and say, you know what, we're not doing a good job at this, or we're not doing a good job at that. And instead of denying it and calling the people who are providing the fact-based information showing what is wrong, instead of calling them names and threatening them and trying to intimidate them, they need to engage us. They need to talk to us. We're not dumb people. We care about this town. We don't have agendas like some of those people do.
Absolutely.
So we need to be part of the solution. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere.
So we got violence in our schools, failed leadership, poor student performance, throwing out books, students being arrested. I ain't too happy about that. I think needs to be some kind of preventative, but I understand there has to be consequences, but I don't think, kind of arresting a kid and putting him into the system. And when I say putting him into the system, I don't mean send him to training school. I mean, now he's in the court system, and now he has to get probation and stay out of trouble. And, it just kind of sets him up for, it's like that whole school to prison pipeline.
Well, if somebody assaults another student in school, that's a crime.
No, assault's a different assault. But they're saying disturbances, disturbing the General Assembly,
Right.
and just
Right.
throwing a piece of garbage across the classroom is disturbing the General Assembly.
Right.
How many times did you shoot a piece of paper across the classroom into the
Sure.
garbage barrel?
Yeah. And you got
That's
to extricate them from the classroom.
Yep. And
Right.
now they can get arrested for that. That's disturbing. They said anyone making a disturbance, arrest them.
Yeah.
That's a fact. I heard that from a good source, but I hope it don't come to that. And they knew I was against that right away, because we need to reform. Like, they got rid of the alternative learning program that they had a few years back. And I think the superintendent was asking what happened to that. And they got rid of it. They wanted to cut money. Instead, they ship kids out of town. They spend up to $45,000 a year. They send them down to Warwick, West Bay Community Action, and it's basically a big bona fide gym class, but they don't want to deal with the kids. They send, that's a lot of money leaving this district. Each kid,
Right.
$45,000.
Right.
Yeah, but another day, another time. Go to Rumble. I'm gonna share the link of Bob and Mr. Gagne. Nice man. I actually had the pleasure of being on WBLQ with him a few years back. So nice guy.
He's a smart guy, hell of a lot smarter than me. He's a smart guy, and he loves this town too. I want to share my Facebook page, Mikey, if I could.
Absolutely, and put in the comment too section when you
Okay,
come back.
it's called Westerly Residents Against Indoctrination. It's a private Facebook page, and if anybody has Twitter and want to follow me on Twitter, I'm going to type it in. It's at BCHIARADIO 14 on Twitter, or X, as you call it now, as people call it now.
Oh yeah, yep, the X.
And so there's my my Facebook page, Westerly Residents Against Indoctrination, and at Chiaradio 14 on Twitter if you want to follow me. I am me on Facebook. If you have any questions, I know most of the people who are watching the show, probably a lot of them anyway. And feel free to reach out if you need help or you just want to talk about something. I'm always available. So, and I appreciate this forum too, Mikey. Thank you.
And a big shout out to the Portsmouth community, all the parents and the community that actually got behind Coach Mack out there. I was like, wow, I wish every community would get behind, different things that are going on. Coach Mack, he's sick. You know, he has and he's still coming to school every day to coach these kids. And the athletic director fired like 7 of his coaches and a whole volunteer staff. And what a nice guy. And I mean, the guy is terminally ill and he's still willing to come fight for these kids. And you're doing everything you can to hurt the guy. But salute to that community. They're fighting. You know, Foster Gloucester, we got parent advocates out there doing their thing. So yeah, I just want to send a big shout out to all the people, and you know, a bunch of advocates yourself. You know, you have Westerly handled, you got someone in SK, and these people are needed. And if somebody wants to get involved, I'm going to share his information. Westerly Residents Against Indoctrination. You need to make a Rhode Island residence against it as well, you know, because you seem to be getting a lot bigger and helping out a lot more people. So, yeah, big shout out to that.
Thank you, Mike. You know, we're all in this together, and it's all about the common denominator is these kids. So we're just trying to fight for them and fight for their survival because, I put that up wrong. It's at Chiaradio, not hashtag. Sorry.
Oh, okay. We'll have to get that.
My bad.
Down.
My bad. So, you know, let's stick together and, you know, tell the truth. We keep telling the truth. Show up to school committee meetings, speak your mind, stick up for your own kids.
Absolutely. All right, Bob, thank you. And the next school committee meeting should be 2 weeks, right?
It is November 1st, Mike.
November 1st. So if you want to address something, get over there, reach out to Bob. I'm sure he can help you. Maybe you want to put something on the agenda. A lot of people don't know how to do that. Maybe we ought to do a podcast one day explaining how to fill out a Freedom of Information request. And,
sure.
You know, I think, you know, we can educate the public and maybe we can get more people involved in the school committees.
Great idea. Happy to help, Mike.
All right, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. God bless.
All right. There's my guy, Bob Chiaradio, you know, out here in Westerly, you know, busting his butt, you know, for these kids, trying to get things done. I'll be right back.
We should have been able to. Ferrari takes him down. And there is going to start at the 25-yard line. The freshman got.
That was a freshman that you just seen over there, Jack. I always screw up the name Speranza. I hope I said that right. But what extraordinary football player. Everything I've seen from that freshman this season has been amazing. So I'm going to play this real quick. Let me get over to where the page is and give me a chance to do something real quick.
Expectations to student achievement, and
You're lying. And
this has resulted in a significant reduction in the number of discipline referrals being processed by the principal when compared to the same first weeks of school as last year.
My studies of psychology in grad school, I know that means that you're bullshitting.
So the emphasis on positive behavioral interventions at State Street is certainly paying dividends.
I noticed that your voice just went up a whole octave.
Meaning how well students feel that they are able to regulate their emotions. WMS is reporting a 9% increase in the positive direction over last year.
All right, but we'll come back to that. You know, big shout out to Wayne the Voice Matthews, man. Big rest in peace. You know, Voice Sports, you know, doing a lot for youth football.
out, but like
That's
most
what's made him the
quarterbacks
GOAT.
don't do that. What?
Well,
That's what's made him the GOAT.
Hey, we out of here.
Thank you, guys.
Only never done is Mr. Swing Your
R.I.P. man, Wayne the Voice Matthews, man, 50 years old, leaves this earth, man. Such a shame. You know, Wayne was he was a good man. Even though I didn't speak to Wayne for, you know, in like the last year, I think it was, you know, but nonetheless, I'm still gonna step up, you know, and say rest in peace to my friend, you know, Wayne the Voice Matthews. Good man. That's right, man. So rest in peace, Wayne. I'm trying to get the guys together, you know, Samson, the bad guy. I'm trying to get the professor, you know, my man Sean Bennett. You know, we'll get together and do one last stream in Wayne's honor. But I want to thank Bob Chiaradio for coming on the show. You know, if you get a chance, get down to Providence, man. Check out the Onlyville, New York system. Shout out to Greg Stevens, you know, holding it down. His family's been holding it down since 1946 out there, man. But we're into like the last week of football. So the views and opinions expressed in this program and those of the speakers and don't really reflect the views, positions, or entries. You know, it's all allegedly. So don't get your panties in a bunch. But we're going to come back and talk more about what's going on in Rhode Island football. I'm glad Bob had a chance to come on, talked about all the screwed up things that are going on right now in Westerly. I'm going to get this to come on now. Yeah, all the crazy things that are going on. You know, the violence in schools, the low scores. So till next time, people, we out.
Pass you on to the 6th grade, and in 1 year, you're gonna be in another school.
What in the heck are you doing? Get out of here, Bobby. If those kids could read, they'd be very upset.
We don't do no talking, we know what they do for the views. If I took a loss, no, I got it all back. They just wanna talk, so we gonna talk facts. Got it out the mud, got it out the mud. Really on the plug, really on the plug. Yeah, they know what's up, yeah, they know what's up. We don't do no talking, we know what they do for the views. If I took a loss, no, I got it all back. They just wanna talk.
Look back and you're gonna see the wolf pack. Oh, they got no chance, like they stuck in the friend zone. Fly guy dropped off hook and then he run into the end zone.
I'll be a down till I die. Between the hedges looking fly. 90,000 in the stands, I'ma do my dance, make it look fly. Coach put me in the game.
It's more than a pigskin and shoulder pads. It's a way of life.
Ready, setting for first take. They ain't taking nothing less just in first place. Settle for less perfection. Just reach hold the champion trophy and then it's time to hit somebody. Team hungry and they're ready to eat. Game day every day of the week. It's time to hit somebody.
We already won, coach. It's done.
coach. Pass on 4th and 1, coach. Win every game on the road, but Sanford, they can't come, coach. Linebacker got it on lock. Running hill, get your head smashed. Strong safety hit you so hard, made the other coach throw a red flag. My cornerback got a pick six, he caught it with one hand back. We scored again, I Lambo leaped, I jumped up, my fan had. My old line, they make a play, they'll hold it down on the bad game. Running back like to turn it up, quarterback the truth with the pad game. Red jersey and last name, in the SEC, we in our own lane. A minute left, we up by 2. You know we ain't losing no home game.
Look back and you're gonna see the wolf pack. Oh, they got no chance like they stuck in the friend zone. Fly guy dropped the hook and then he run into the end zone.
I'll be a down till I die. Between the hedges looking fly. 90,000 in the stands, I'ma do my...
throughout, but like
That's
most
what's made him the
quarterbacks
GOAT.
don't do that. What?
Well,
That's what's made him the GOAT.
Hey, we out of here.
All right, thank you guys.